68. Deterioration and Refinement. Deteriorate.
The diplomatic relations between the two nations deteriorated after the trade war.
Refined.
The poet was a highly refined man. He was well educated. The corporation imports crude oil and exports refined oil. Space technology has become much more refined in recent years.
Crude.
The crude estimate of his wealth is over $10 billion. Our ancestors crossed the sea in crude wooden boats. The price of crude oil is likely to keep rising up.
Overlook.
The stately mansion overlooks the sea. You can't overlook even the smallest details if you are in outer space.
Terrain.
The geologists set off into the uncharted terrain of the plateau.
Jeopardy.
The bankruptcy of a bank can put hundreds of other banks in jeopardy. The bankruptcy of a bank can jeopardize hundreds of other banks.
Odd.
He is an odd man. He goes out alone for a walk in the middle of the night. 3, 5, 7, and 9 are odd numbers.
Gossip.
I don't have interest in celebrity gossip. The girls were gossiping about the new boy.
Pure.
During drought, they had trouble finding a pure water supply for the citizens. This book is a work of pure genius. I read it with pure joy.
Purify.
The water plants help purify the water.
Profound.
The humble experiment of Galileo had such profound consequences. His early experience had a profound effect on his novels.
Vulnerable.
The children are vulnerable to vicious crimes on the streets.
Peculiar.
She has always proposed the most peculiar ideas at the conferences.
Intelligible.
The excavated texts were not intelligible to archaeologists.
Hazard.
Rising levels of pollution represent a serious health hazard to the citizens.
Phenomenon.
Transmitting information instantly is a fairly recent phenomenon.
Excavate.
The ancient tomb was excavated by archaeologists.
Undermine.
The trade dispute undermined diplomatic relations between the two nations.
Messy.
The office is always messy. You need to clean it more often.
Radar.
They could recognize the precise type of plane on the radar screen.
Ruin.
The injury ruined her athletic career. Small businesses asked the government to save them from financial ruin. The town has lain in ruins after a series of earthquakes.
Tidy.
She always keeps the house neat and tidy.
Strike.
She struck him on the face with her fist. She was struck by the similarities between the two phenomena. A powerful earthquake will strike the region sooner or later. The labor union will strike for 2 weeks. We'd better take a bus. The railway workers are on strike. The strike of his hand missed my chest. After 3 strikes, the batters are out.
Exception.
All the buildings in the town, with the exception of the city hall, are modern.
Conference.
The meeting was held in the main conference room.
Confer.
Before the trial, the client conferred with his lawyers at the courtroom. The university conferred an honorary degree on the generous donor.
Row. Row.
We sat on the 5th row of the theater. The sisters often have rows over nothing.
Chart.
The forecaster showed the weather chart. His new song topped every pop chart. The astronomer charted the movement of the planets with remarkable precision. The explorer charted the course of the mighty river through the canyon.
Eloquent.
He gave an eloquent speech on why they had to cut the national debt drastically. Words in context. They shouldn't have overlooked the research which warned that the oil refinery would put the environment in profound jeopardy. Actually, when an archaeological team excavated a nearby site and charted the region with radar, it was found that the terrain was too vulnerable to build a huge plant. But the national economy would have been undermined if crude oil had not been refined. So they constructed the plant and odd phenomena occurred in a row. The water in the river used to be so pure that they could drink it without purification. Now the water was even too hazardous to purify and drink. Besides, new kinds of plants grew up and ruined the tidy parks around the plant. The peculiar plants made the parks messy and even made it perilous to take walks there. Finally, a conference was held, and the mayor gave an eloquent speech. Everyone, with the exception of the managers of the refinery, agreed that it was not time for idle gossip, but to take immediate action. When workers at the refinery went on strike in protest, the managers had to agree to do everything to stop the deterioration of the environment.